Welcome to the All49ers show. Grant Cohn, Jose Sanchez. We're going to be talking about the Niners offense today because it's got so much talent, but Kyle Shanahan has too many ideas right now. I think he's kind of overwhelmed in all of his creativity, so we're going to help him sift through all of his many brilliant ideas and get the right ones so this team can score maybe 23 points a game instead of 22. Jose, how are you on this fine morning?
I'm all right. I was telling Ryan earlier like how much I'm in a dilemma I'm in because I love the cold weather. But I also hate it because that means I can't get bald fade haircuts anymore. Because otherwise, I'm just gonna cover up. Like,
I see what you mean.
What does it matter?
I see what you mean. I'm preparing. It's. I mean, it's a fake one. It's my quality control jacket. If you have it, it says QC.
You got a gold
so that
one
means
now?
I got a gold one.
I've seen that one.
I wear it when I'm feeling really confident. So today I'm feeling good. We're gonna be schooling Kyle Shanahan on his offense. That's the verb he likes to use. So we're gonna help Kyle. First question:
golden standard. The jacket, the golden standard, since Kyle Shanahan can't uphold it.
Yeah, Kyle may be able to get a gold jacket one day, but not yet. He hasn't earned it yet. First question I have. Well, the first topic is a question for Jose. Is the strength of the 49ers offense still the run game?
Yes, it is. It definitely is. The thing is, it looks bad because, you know, when they're stacking up 5 to 7 man lines and 8 people in the freaking box, of course it's going to look bad. You got a numbers game at that point, and without Trey Lance to account for that extra number, then you're kind of very going up an uphill battle carrying sandbags on your shoulders. So to me, it's like, Kyle, if you know this, you really want to run the ball, you're gonna have to start passing more. You got to step out your element a little bit. That's the thing that infuriates me, and that's why I wrote the other day about is Jimmy Garoppolo having the best year of his career. It wasn't so much that I believe so much in that, it's because he's playing pretty damn solid. How about entrusting him a little bit? Give him a little hand on the steering wheel, because right now you have Jimmy Garoppolo, 0 fingerprints on the steering wheel. You're almost playing like you're scared for him to mess up the game, which so far he hasn't done that. Maybe he's made some poor RPO decisions, which sure, great. Missed some players in the field, of course, and we know he does that. But ultimately, he's throwing the ball pretty fine across the middle, even to the sidelines and downfield a little bit. So it's like, how about let's get him going? Let's make the defense pay and make him off kilter by throwing the ball a little bit so that you can make your strength become your strength all over again.
Yeah, I feel like the numbers kind of show that look, they're 20th in the league in yards per carry and 3rd in the league in yards per pass attempt. So it seems like they're running too much and passing too little. And so I don't think that the strength of the team is running right now. Elijah Mitchell and Christian McCaffrey are good running backs, but the offensive line, like the right side from Brendel, Burford, whoever they have it right regard, and then McGlinchey, it's just not working right now. So they're kind of like left-handed in the run game. They run left more than any team in the league. Meanwhile, on offense, like they have playmakers at every single spot. McCaffrey, and we're going to talk about him more, is a legitimately really good receiver as a running back. They may have the best running back receiver in the league. Deebo's having a horrible year, but he's Deebo. Ayuk's having a great year. Kittle's still Kittle to an extent. I mean, they have so many options in the passing game where like Jimmy can't really miss. And it seems like if you're going to force everything through your running game, maybe you shouldn't. Maybe you should just you've spent so many like dollars and resources on these weapons in your passing game, like maybe pass the freaking ball. Maybe. It's not like Jimmy's not turning the ball over. He's not great, but damn, I mean, usually Kyle Shanahan would take the ball out of his hands and just run crazy when he didn't trust Jimmy. Well, you can't really say that. You can't use that excuse now. Now I feel like he's just running because he's stubborn, because it's his pattern. Like, look at your stats, look at your playmakers, and, you know, call the game accordingly. That's what I would say.
The book is out, right? Because we saw it in the NFC Championship game where it's like this run game's going nowhere. Time for Jimmy to live up to it, and the dude just left so much to be had and wasn't even on it. But he's been on it this year outside of the Denver game. I mean, he's been pretty much fine outside of the most egregious pick, number 1, the Chiefs game, and the 1 pick in the Denver game. The other pick, you know, the picks in the Atlanta game were bad, but one of them was like a toss-up, whatever. But ultimately, yeah, he's been fine. He's been pretty excellent. I'm teetering down the line back to where he played for in 2019. Is that far? So to me, it's like Kyle's back to, again, just not trusting Jimmy. And it's like, well, Kyle, your offense, the way you wanted to go now is not working. So for you to want it to go the way you want it to go is you got to get out of tendencies. All right. If we know what's coming, which I feel like it's like, oh, run play. Here we go. Give the ball more to Jimmy. Take a risk. I know it's a risk. And I know he could probably be in for a backstep. So remember,
throw on first down.
Yeah,
They don't expect it.
Dude,
Do it.
Game.
Yeah.
I'm sitting next to my cousins. I'm like, opening drive. Watch, run, pass. It's like, dude, your play. It's not the plays that's predictable. It's the play sequence.
It's the sequencing. It's the sequencing.
And you're out of rhythm, and it's like
they're expecting you to run on first down, and you're running on first down. Why?
Plug on calling him adaptable. He's not adaptable. Look, I've already seen from the All 49er people on Twitter show out that, hey, look, it's the same RPO play over and over and over again in the RPO, and the Chargers adjusted by either putting someone out on the edge, and it's like, dude, pass the ball regularly. You don't have one of those in your arsenal? Like, are you serious? You don't have a single just shot play just to take? And I'm not talking about downfield shot, but just something to take? Like, come on.
Yeah. Come on. Yeah, this is on Kyle. And the thing is, like, let's compare it to McDaniel. Josh McDaniel goes to Miami. What if Kyle were the Miami Dolphins head coach right now? Would Tua be flourishing, or would they be running the ball and he'd be like, Tua, I don't trust you, and we're not going to go down the field because I don't like your arms. So we're going to – it almost feels like that's Kyle's personality. And you got McDaniel over there with a quarterback no one respected, and he's like, I mean, if you watch Tua highlights, it's nothing but 30-yard passes down the field. Oh, he's done. It's like, and they're not, he doesn't have anything on the ball, but they're relentlessly pushing the ball down the field. They're throwing the ball more than they're running it. And this is a run game genius, understanding, hey, I think it's important to pass in the NFL. I don't know, man. I feel like if McDaniel were the head coach here, they'd just be more aggressive on offense. They'd be looking like they look in Miami. And if Kyle were in Miami, they'd be much more conservative on offense. And just running, passing. So, Kyle, adapt.
That everyone cops out, especially for Kyle, is, well, like when Juwan Jennings had that stretch where he was dominating, it's like, all right, great. Now let's get your other players involved. It's like, well, they're defending the other people different. That's why Jennings is flourishing. It's like, so wait, you mean to tell me that the defense somehow has 18 people on the field where they can double cover Brandon Ayuk, Deebo Samuel, George Kittle? Someone's running right open. Get out of here with that. I just watched the Cowboys doo-doo on the Packers with just one or two options on their offense, and CeeDee Lamb and Tony Pollard. I mean, other offenses who have lesser coaches are excelling. What's the Niners' excuse? So
I just feel like the Niners are much more
execution. Get it out of
I think they're more suited to pass this year. I mean, they got a quarterback who doesn't want to do play action. So being under center doesn't really help. He's pretty good in the gun. You have five good eligible receivers on any given play. And you got a guy with a quick release. So it seems like, sacks haven't been a huge issue this year. The problem is when you try to run the ball because you don't have the offensive line to pull it off like you did in the past. You don't. And frankly, Christian McCaffrey, as good as he is, I still think is better as a receiver than he is as a running back. That's how I feel. But Elijah Mitchell kind of complements him really well. They have good running backs. They just have the potential to have the kind of passing game they have in Miami. Now, Tua is better than Jimmy. Jimmy can't throw the ball down the field like Tua, but still, the Niners have the weapons and the stats prove it. They're third in the league in yards per attempt. They should be passing more. 20th in the league in yards per carry. They should be running less. Corey Soto has an interesting question. I saw Lance jumping up and down on the sideline on Sunday Night Football. I thought this dude was supposed to be in bed for 6 months. Guess I didn't understand the prognosis. No, it's like a 8 to 12 week.
Like in a month already, right?
Yeah, and what's funny is it seems like he's very subtly showing people that he's making progress. I'm not saying he's ahead of schedule. I don't know what the schedule is, but he posted a picture on his Instagram of him standing without a cast a couple of weeks ago, without a boot, and now he made it a point. I hadn't seen him at games, but all of a sudden on Sunday Night Football with the whole nation watching, he's on the sideline, probably figuring that the camera's going to catch him, and he's jumping up and down. These seem like very subtle statements saying, hey, don't forget about me. I'm feeling pretty good. Maybe I'm misinterpreting that. And I don't expect the Niners to suddenly go back to Trey Lance at the end of the season. But if something freaky were to happen to Jimmy Garoppolo like happened to Trey, I mean, how do you go to Brock Purdy if Trey Lance is cleared and wanting to play? That would be very interesting. And earlier in the year, I don't know if you remember, but I was trying to compare this team to the 72 Dolphins that went undefeated. That team, they had Bob Greasy. He broke his ankle. They had to go the rest of the year with a different quarterback whose name escapes me at the moment. He got hurt late in the playoffs. Greasy came back in like the AFC Championship game, played half that game, started the Super Bowl. So these things have happened before. Trey, stay ready.
That's the only scenario I see Trey coming back, which that last.
Of course.
We have 2 more IR activations left, which at that point, I'm not sure who else they're going to activate. So Kinlaw's 1. If he does
2
come
more.
back, Jesus. And
2 more.
Yeah, but
2 more.
one of them's going to be for Kinlaw. That's going to be like 7th. So then would have 1 more, Trey Lance, in the month?
Yeah, those two, I think would be the guys you're waiting for. So yeah, keep an eye on Trey Lance. It seems like he's starting to put himself back in the public eye a little bit more, which I like. It's subtle. All right, subtle. Next question. So I tweeted yesterday that Elijah Mitchell is the 49ers' best running back and he should start. Jose disagrees with me, I think. So why don't we debate it? Jose, tell me why I'm wrong.
Because you're Grant, you're always wrong. According to all takes exposed.
Yeah, pretty much.
No. It's Chris McCaffrey is just a better look. Christian McCaffrey has a better chance. One of the versions is he's a better chance of taking it to the house. You know, Elijah Mitchell has yet to do that. McCaffrey from the Rams game and even the last game, I felt like, wow, he's getting close. So it feels like he's about to rip this off and just for a huge gain or just take it to the house. Whereas Mitchell, it's like he's like the 10, 15-yard king, the 5 to 15-yard king, which is fine. Running backs should aspire to that, and then if you can take them next level, great. But McCaffrey, better vision, stays balanced. I know I got a game off with Ryan just now. He says, I think Elijah is just a little harder to bring down. He's a little more sturdier, which is like I can entertain. You know, he's a little harder to start to bring down, but I would say so is McCaffrey. There's plenty of times where people were swiping at his legs below the waist, and he was able to manage and get an extra 3 yards. You know, It kind of reminds you of like Frank Gore falling forward, you know, and stuff like that. So yeah, I just think he's still the better back, more explosive, and that's where I pretty much that's where the 3 points where I see that he, you know, takes the ledge over Elijah Mitchell.
Okay, fair enough. This is the way I look at it. You could make the argument that Christian McCaffrey is a better player than Elijah Mitchell because Christian McCaffrey, in addition to being a good running back, is an excellent receiver, and Mitchell isn't an excellent receiver. McCaffrey clearly is. And to me, if you have a pass-first team, you put McCaffrey on a team with Tom Brady or Drew Brees or any quarterback like that, I mean, you want that dude on that team. But Kyle, as we just talked about, he wants to be the run-first guy, the run-heavy guy. And I don't think McCaffrey is that guy. They're trying to use him like that guy, but he's not super big. He's not super powerful. We saw it at the end of the Chargers shut him down. The Chargers suck at stopping the run. And somehow, some way, they couldn't shut down Mitchell. Mitchell's just a little too powerful, a little too explosive. And so the way I look at it is on this team, as a ball carrier, it's not a fluke that Mitchell's averaging 5.4 yards per carry and McCaffrey's averaging 4.3. Still. So to me, I think Mitchell should be getting 18 carries a game and McCaffrey should be getting like 13, 14. I think that's fair. Because I think you can run Mitchell between the tackles, outside the tackles. McCaffrey, I think there's just specific ways you want to use him. In addition to the 6 to 7 targets in the passing game, you want to give him as well. So maybe McCaffrey ends up getting more touches. But like if you're winning with 4 minutes left, man, I want Mitchell on the field. Just like at the end of this game against the Chargers, closing it out. If you're at the goal line, I'd rather have Mitchell or Deebo in the game or Jordan Mason than Christian McCaffrey. So that's my TED Talk.
No, you quarterback sneak it because Jimmy's like 1,000 for 1,000. So first of all,
he is the short yardage back on this team. It's true.
Yeah, he's the short yardage back. So
I guess it doesn't really matter who starts. It kind of matters who finishes or who gets more carries. I don't know.
Well, that it's back to the 2019 debate, right? Why isn't Mostert getting started? And it's like, who cares? We know he's the real guy. But anyway,
yeah.
I'm going to test that Mitchell's great game from being rested and the Chargers not preparing for that as well because there was zero film in him. I know you can go back to last year, but like how much time are you actually going to spend on film for one guy from last year when it's like, are you going to worry about
That's
Mitchell
true.
or are you going to worry about McCaffrey? So I would rather stop McCaffrey. So I would love to have seen if Mitchell had several games under his belt, how that would have looked. So that's what I credit to why he was so efficient Not to say he's not bad because he probably still would have had a solid game because he's a sweet back. Both of them are.
Yeah, what I want to say real quick is, aren't they a great duo?
Oh, that's fantastic, man.
They really complement each other.
I'm trying to think of who else is like a fantastic duo. I remember like last year it was
I got one. Raheem Mostert and Jeff Wilson Jr.
Now.
Yeah, in Miami. The Niners and Dolphins may have the 2 best running back duos in the league.
And you know what? They're kind of similar in the way, like, so Jeff Wilson's a newcomer on the block. And I guess in a way, McCaffrey was, but now it's Elijah Mitchell. The newcomer got the more efficient, more reps because I think Wilson's out snapping Mostert now in Miami. But
I think as he should.
Yeah,
Wilson's in his prime right now. Yeah.
You know what? I remember last week we talked about, and I wrote about it. The Niners got to be more mindful about how they use McCaffrey. They can't make that Rams game be the standard because, my God, you're going to freaking pile drive this guy into the IR. So let's relax on that. So and
he didn't play so well in this game. You almost wonder. And one more thing I thought was interesting in this game, McCaffrey was the 3rd best ball carrier on the offense in this game. Deebo really ran well in this game, and we're going to talk about him more in a bit.
And I think that's McCaffrey too.
I mean, the Niners have a trio of backs. They can't all of a sudden phase out Deebo Samuel from this run game because he's struggling as a receiver, and he had a great game as a running back in this game. He should have had a touchdown, but in like the first quarter, I don't know if you saw it, but Trent Williams totally whiffed. They brought him around, they pulled, and he blocked no one, and the guy he should have blocked made the tackle. Kyle Shanahan brought this up. Trent Williams not having a great year. We're talking about that more too. So I won the debate. Thank you very much for trying. Good stuff.
Yeah, so I think ultimately this is a good spot the 49ers are in. But yeah, the way you mentioned that they have a good 3 runners just made me think about you know what, you could sacrifice one of them not having a good outing just as long as 2 of them are doing good because that's ultimately the point you want. You know, you're for the whole season we've been looking at Deebo getting locked in on. Now you got Mitchell back. Now you got McCaffrey added to the equation. So now it's really making your defense try to account for it all. And it's like, no, we really can't. Which again circles back to a defense can't account for Ayuk, Kittle, and all these guys in the receiving game either. So at some point there has to be an advantage taken care of. It's almost like the UFC's fights you just watched. We're setting you up. Who's gonna get? Where's the haymaker punch? All right, we need that.
One more thing before we move on with this running back topic. We're debating who's better. Neither one is really a short yardage back. Neither one's really a goal line back. And what I think is interesting is unless the Niners ever want to give Jordan Mason a shot in that role, he's like 230 pounds and it's what he did in college, then their goal line back is Deebo still. So either use your $20 million per year wide receiver in that role, which you don't want to do, which is why you drafted Ty Davis Price, or
what happened to TDP?
He's not good at it. Remember in the preseason they tried to get him he was like 3rd and 1. He ran sideways. Remember that?
Yeah, that was disgusting.
Remember that?
Who was that against? Was that against the chart? Not the chart.
Might have been. I don't know. But all I know is Jordan Mason gets downhill. He's a north-south runner. They don't have a goal line back yet. It's still Deebo. They still need to use Deebo in this running game. Sean O'Leary says,
"You don't need."
That's true. It could have been Trey Lance, but not really concerned with whether CMC or Mitchell are better suited to the Niners scheme. I worry about the durability of both. How often can we expect both will be available week to week? It's a good question.
Right there.
Because when they are both available, the Niners are going to be tough to beat.
The way he ended it right now, it's literally a week-to-week basis. So just hold your breath, and when you hear Kyle after the game says, "All right, guys, nothing from the game," then once you hear that, you should be like, "Yes, hell yes!"
Yeah.
Which, by the way, back-to-back weeks now, that feels like a huge dub. That's crazy.
I just feel like the Niners are so tough to beat when Mitchell's rolling because when he's rolling, he's like 18 carries, about 5 yards a carry, and it's not like one explosive run and a bunch of 2-yard runs. It's just consistently staying ahead of the chains and no fumbles. And that's what the Niners want to be. He is their identity. And if you can shut him down, you can beat the Niners. But if you can't shut down Elijah Mitchell, you're going to have a very frustrating night, like the Chargers just learned. Very frustrating.
Well, that's why we kind of want them to pass a little more, right? Set up the run by utilizing the pass.
Yeah, because if you get Elijah Mitchell hurt like you do every 3 games because you overuse him because he's like a freaking cheat code, then you're screwed.
That's another way to give him a break, too. And then that's another way you can use McCaffrey, make him more efficient. He should be McCaffrey should really be like a 10 to 12, like you say.
That's what I'm saying.
8 targets, guys. Maybe like 5, 10 to 12 carries, 5 targets. It depends whatever it dictates, but that's pretty much the wide range, and you use them all.
He's a scat back.
Right now, it's just Brandon Ayuk you have in the offense, which, by the way, when McCaffrey got brought in, me and you talked about who gets negatively impacted. You said Ayuk. Well, that's not really working out. Ayuk's still balling.
Yeah.
I said George Kittle. George Kittle so far kind of been phased out again.
Yeah. I know. It's kind of crazy. Official BNA Music 88 says, "Are you going to stand for Mike McGlizzy today?" No. I was just kidding. I couldn't actually do that. Sean O'Leary says, "My wife walking by just now. Why does the louder guy get the better mic?" I got to get you a better mic, man. You like sit like 4 feet away from your mic, and I'm like, hey, Jose, what do you think about the 49ers?
You know what's funny? I'm actually louder than you.
Are you?
I think so. Everyone always says like I talk loud.
Oh, maybe that's what she was talking about. All right, let's talk about Deebo Samuel.
I think it's probably because I have the stupid automatically adjust mic volume. Let me see if I can raise it. All right, it's at 150 from 100, so let's see if I'm too loud.
All right, let me get Deebo Samuel's numbers up because I need to get this right. Just a second. All right, here we go. So Deebo Samuel is still a really good athlete. We saw him on Sunday Night Football carrying the ball. He looked like Hercules. That's what Tom Rathman said sitting next to me. He's like, man, that guy looks like Hercules. Yeah, he's still hella strong. But for whatever reason, he's having a terrible season as a wide receiver. He's over the last 4 games, he's caught 50% of his targets. For the season, when targeted, the Niners quarterback rating when targeting him is 68, while like everyone else is over 100 on the team. I don't understand what's going on with this guy, but they keep forcing him like 6 or 7 targets a game, and he keeps giving them like 2 catches. It's been like this for a month. He had a really good game against the Rams like week 5. Since then, he's been like bad as a wide receiver. So I don't know. Like, do you think they should just keep giving him 6 or 7 targets and it'll work itself out? Or should they start to like modify their usage of him?
I think the target should remain, but modify the way you're trying to target him. Like, I'm tired of these like screens. Like, come on, man. Let's. I know he drops the ball, and that kind of makes him untrustworthy to actually let him run anything past a few yards in front of the line of scrimmage. But for God's sakes, man, just try something different. It can't be Ayuk on every passing play, because now earlier in the season, us and I think everyone else too thought the real connection with Jimmy was Deebo, and Ayuk was going to get phased out. It's been the complete opposite now, right? I mean, Deebo's the one that's like really shorting himself, and it's all on him, like just being like right now all of his shortcomings. I just think it's the way, keep the targets going, but let's try to stop using just the quick screens. No one loves the screens more than Kyle Shanahan. It's become frustrating as to why you're wondering what your offense is not getting more push or getting more points on the board. Like, can we just get Deebo on more slants and crossers? Can we get him maybe a little bit deeper so that the defenses are more, aren't as used to it? But I'm also wondering maybe if like Deebo is failing on those actual routes he's getting because he's not a great separator either. So if that's the case, then you really have to start toning it down, because maybe defenses are just already know what he is, because if they're it looks like they're already keying on him as a ball carrier and the keying on him as a receiver, then you have to start going elsewhere. Let's look more at Kittle. Let's look more at McCaffrey. And then once defense forget about Deebo, then you go back to him.
Yeah, it just seems like if he's not getting open, if he's catching 50% of his targets and the quarterback rating when targeting him is 68, like you got to go elsewhere. When the quarterback rating when targeting Ayuk is 120, when targeting McCaffrey it's 115, when targeting Kittle it's 105. Like there's so many options. You don't have to force the ball to Deebo until it starts working. So what I would do is dial back his targets big time and start using him more as a running back. I know a couple of weeks ago, me and my dad said, stop doing that. Well, I got to change my opinion on this. I'm watching Deebo. It seems like he's not getting open, but it does seem like he's still running really freaking hard. So I think the combination of him and Mitchell was a winning combination last year. You're trying to integrate McCaffrey. It didn't work in this last game. It worked two games ago. Maybe throw the ball to McCaffrey and run the ball with Deebo. I'm just saying. There are options here. I think you can still use Deebo. He's averaging damn near 6 yards a carry. So, and I think he's probably a much more powerful runner between the tackles than McCaffrey. So if you can't run outside right and you're struggling to get to the edge, get Deebo back in there with those high knees like Roger Craig.
I just think Deebo has poor vision, to be honest. I think he's poor vision. Like
McCaffrey has better vision.
1,000%, 3 times better vision. Because I think if he gets that handoff that Deebo got, that first handoff was the first quarter, that's a touchdown. He missed. He didn't go to his right. And I guess it's always easier to say, but to me, he didn't go to. He gets the handoff. Trent Williams. Is Trent Williams pulling? Someone was pulling.
Trent Williams was pulling.
And instead of him, he goes north-south, which is great, but it's like you had a wide lane. You could have just gone to your right, and it wasn't even wide. It's like if you just take 2 steps to your right, the touchdown is right there. So, and I think there's been plenty of examples already put out about pointing out that it's like, dude, the guy just misses a lot. He's almost like the Jimmy of running backs, so because he makes so many explosive plays, he makes up for it, which, all right, cool. It's like as a cornerback, you give up so much yards as a cornerback, but you're not giving up touchdowns, you're getting picks, we'll take that. So it's kind of.
But he's so hard to take down, man. I feel like he tires out defenses and makes everyone else's job easier, man. And again, if he's struggling as a wide receiver, you got to use him somehow. You can't just take him out of the offense. He's too good. Paying him a lot of money. So this is a dilemma. And the Niners' solution so far is it'll work itself out. Just keep feeding him. We're at week 11, and this dude is still giving you like 2 catches on 6 targets, 2 catches on 7 targets. Not good enough. So modify this. And you don't need to give him 6 targets when you just gave Kittle 2. No, Kittle's actually been much more efficient this year. McCaffrey's out here. Ray's playing well. Juszczyk is playing well. Dwelly exists. You don't have to do that. Juwan Jennings is stepping up. So when Deebo wants to, put the Mike and Ikes down and join the party, he's welcome to. I had to go there. Mario Gonzalez says, Grant, can we please tell the coach to put Jimmy Ward back at safety with Huff? What the hell are we doing here? Need quality control to make this move. Yeah, I feel like it's going to burn him eventually. It's not going to burn them anytime soon because they haven't faced good quarterbacks or good receivers. But what is this? What is going on? I mean, Jimmy Ward is clearly better at safety, and Tashawn Gibson is not a better safety than Jimmy Ward. I don't understand.
He got burned in the Chiefs game. Now, you could argue it was the first game back.
Who, Jimmy?
But, you know what? I think Mahomes and Bieniemy and Andy Reid identified that clearly on that 1 touchdown pass. It's like Jimmy Ward in the slot. All we got to do is just run past them in the crossers. That's it. That's all you got to do to beat Jimmy.
Yeah, he shouldn't be playing nickel. He should not be Jimmy. He should not be playing nickel. Nickel. That's what I call nickel.
He shouldn't be playing nickel exclusively. I'll say that. I like him in that role. I just don't want him exclusively because to me, I'm infatuated when defenses, when coordinators, coaches play their players like in versatile positions. Like, sure, use him in the nickel, but not every single play. Can we? I mean, didn't you draft like a corner for that specific reason?
But what I'm saying is I feel like Samuel Womack might be a better nickel. No offense to Jimmy Ward. I'd like to see Samuel because I don't really like Jimmy Ward. He's given up too much separation to guys I've never heard of at nickel. I don't think he necessarily has an athletic advantage on slot receivers. You put Womack there. Womack runs a 4.3. I'd like to see that. I think Jimmy's the better I think Jimmy's the best free safety on the team, and I think he's probably this. I don't think he's the best nickel on the team. D'Amico and Kyle are trying to say, look, Jimmy's the best nickel on the team, so we got to play him there, and Gibson's just as good as Jimmy. Or I disagree with that totally. Yeah, so we'll see. That's what they're saying. California Bear says head coach is trash. Ken Dorsey, please, please, please. Well, Bills just lost this week.
A bad loss.
Yeah, we got to see a little bit more from Ken Dorsey. He's been a coordinator for like 2 months. All right, this is very interesting. Jesse Naylor, friend of the show, going on live with him tonight.
No, just kidding.
Grinded the tape and found visual evidence that Trent Taylor is tipping plays most of the time. Hats off to Jesse. This is going viral on Twitter. This is some great detective work. This is journalism. This is great shit. Good stuff, Jesse. I do want to point out that I mentioned this after the Chiefs game, that Trent Williams was lining up way farther off the ball on pass plays and run plays. And if you go back, he actually got flagged in that game for an illegal formation because his left leg was so far off the ball. They're like, that's against the rules, Trent. So this has been out there. Also, Bears defender, rookie, mentioned this after week 1. So this is happening. Trent Williams is tipping plays, and if I didn't explain it, on pass plays, he has his left foot way back, and on run plays, he tends to have it parallel to his right foot. This is a tell. Teams have noticed. And a question all year is, why is the Niners offense underperforming? All this talent, great coach. What is the deal? And there's been no clear answer. Well, if they're tipping plays, that could sort of explain why an offense that should be scoring 25, 26, 27 points a game is scoring 22. I don't know. What do you think about this development, Jose?
I don't think it's the reason why the offense is underperforming. You mentioned that the answer isn't clear. I think it's clear as day. It's Kyle Shanahan. It's all freaking day. Now, to Jesse's credit, it's beautiful. Great talking point. It's good to point out because I don't think the common fan knew that. And for the people who were claiming they knew that, I think they're just being a hater and being fake. It's like, come on. But I said from the last game, at least, I can't talk about the other games. But the last game, at least, I don't feel that those tip plays was really giving the Chargers an advantage. I feel like it was more so because even I knew what the sequencing was going to be like, what kind of play type. This is going to be a run. This is going to be typical Shanny. Come on, man. Like, same
Didn't
thing.
help the Rams either. Didn't help the Rams either.
No, yeah, it's so obvious. Like, come on. So I don't think it's too – look, and like the way the cheating stance is, all positions do that. Hell, cornerbacks, like wide receivers, hey, he's playing off coverage. Most times he's going to be playing off coverage because it's zone. Unless your guy's fast and you're just playing off coverage man to give yourself a cheating bump. Or, hey, he's coming up close to me. He's shading his stance to the sideline, so he's going to press me inside. Maybe that's man, or maybe it's just relief. I mean, no, if he's cheating, if he shaded to the sideline, that means I know it's most likely not man because he would want the sideline as his other boundary to push me towards. So every position has that. It's just a little bit harder because it's just more of a debacle here because we talked about just now the running game wasn't successful. So maybe because in that point it's like, hey, look, Trent's running parallel. He's lined up parallel. It's going to be a run. Maybe they have a sign because that's not out of the realm of possibility. Players do pick that up and will have like codes like they'll do a sign, like anything you see, like they can do anything like with their fingers. They can say a word, like just so you can relay it. It's the same thing when defensive ends or outside linebackers warn the corner, hey, watch the crack, or they'll say something, watch the crack block from the tight end or something like that to keep your head on the swivel. But ultimately, I don't think it's really stinging the offense. I will blame Kyle 1,000% on that and the way he's calling plays. I don't think it's really be detrimental.
I wouldn't write it off, man. I mean, this is a team that just like Christian McCaffrey got shut down by the Chargers, who couldn't shut any running game down. So I'm thinking that there's got to be a reason the Niners rank 20th in the run game in yards per carry. And this isn't helping. Now, you could say, like a lot of times, if it's 3rd and 7, you watch any offensive line, any offensive tackle, he's going to have his left leg, he's going to have his outside leg back anyway. You know a pass is coming. But so you can do that sometimes. If it's a 2-minute drill and you can do that. But if it's 1st and 10 early in the game, you can't do that. And if you do, I think teams are going to notice. If it's not the player, it's going to be a coach, it's going to be someone. And if you're giving them a tell before the snap, hey, it's 1st and 10, I'm pretty sure they're going to run on this play. Maybe that's why the Niners run game just got kind of shut down until the very end by the freaking Chargers. So it just feels like, look, the Niners have a lot of talent on this team, but one thing we've talked about with the offense since McDaniel left is a shocking lack of attention to detail. When the hallmark of a Mike McDaniel offense is a hyper attention to detail. With this team, they had it. Now they don't. And you got Trent Williams, like the greatest left tackle of all time, doing this. He could clean this up. But where is the coach saying, hey, Trent, man, look at you. Look, man, look what you're doing. This is not how you play. Where is it? I don't know. The offensive line coach is also the run game coordinator. I mean, he's got a lot in his plate. It just seems like Jesse Naylor just probably saved the season for the 49ers. So good. That's quality control.
Look, I wouldn't say I'm 100% indefinite. That's not nothing. I'm just saying, at least in terms of this game and the bigger picture,
that's fair.
It's fair. More so like
it didn't help the Rams. It did not help the Rams.
I feel like I don't want to scapegoat Trent Williams. I feel like that's what Kyle wants, because that's what he's already doing. Look, he said on the conference call on Monday, "Oh, we got Christian McCaffrey." And it's not when you pointed. It's funny because I don't know how to pick that up because I was on the conference call. I even asked. I'm the one that asked the question about Aaron Banks.
You did.
So I was like, how did I miss that? I'm like, he said that. I'm like, what a moron. Are you serious right now? You're saying that?
Yeah.
Like, come on, dude. He's really just trying to save his hide. And we be talking about it that, like, first off, when Trey Lance went down, pressure rises on Kyle Shanahan. Now you acquire McCaffrey for an offense close to an impasse. All right.
Pressure rises. Pressure rises.
That was no excuse. Don't give me this player execution. Don't give me
And in addition, Jimmy's playing well. So now you can't use him as an excuse either, and it's all on Kyle. And so it's like, oh, is it Trent Williams?
Trent's plays, it's his fault. What?
But like, how many coaches are on your staff? How many people? Jesse Naylor had to point this out. Nothing, no offense to Jesse. You know what I'm saying? Like, how much money are you paying Chris Forrester to notice this? And I'm telling you, like, I got an email from a coach mid Chiefs game saying, look at Trent Williams, dude. He's tipping the plays. I didn't have the enterprise to go to the All-22 and cut it up like Jesse. I might have a couple of years ago. I'm slipping. Jesse's on the way up. This is a big moment for him. But it's been out there. Coaches have noticed, and the Niners haven't done it. They're coming off a bye week. This is what you discover in a bye week. Someone told them week 1, and they're like, it's cool. And you have a bunch of people online, like Emmanuel Acho being like, it's no big deal. Man, can we stop making excuses for the Niners, please?
He did come back and give Jesse credit, though, after he come back on that. So he gave him his spiel. Look, well, honestly, is anyone really going to talk to Trent Williams and tell him about this? No. No one's going to tell him. Do you really envision especially Chris? The only one who can't tell him anything is Kyle. Chris Worcester's not going to tell him nothing. Anthony Lynn's not going to tell him nothing. The only one who can is Kyle, and even then, I don't think Kyle's going to tell him anything.
You know how it's going to get asked? So, like one of the beat writers is going to be kind of nervous about it. And they're going to be like, oh, on Twitter, you know how Twitter is, the experts on Twitter. And they're going to have like nervous laughing, and they're going to be, and someone's going to dismiss it, and there won't be a follow-up question. That's my prediction. We'll see what happens. Brandon Pinn says, could it be Kyle is saving his best for the playoffs if he lets it out now? Teams can study it and be ready for it when it matters. The art of war.
No.
Yeah, Kyle saving his best for the playoffs. The Niners are pacing themselves for the playoffs. It kind of does feel like this team is very much like, we don't have to prove ourselves every week. We don't have to have a standard. We just have to squeak out wins by a few points and get to the playoffs, and then we'll flip the switch. And it's like, man, I don't know that works in any sport, but the teams that can kind of pull that off are the teams that have won multiple championships and knows what it takes.
Pull that off.
The Niners aren't a championship team. Like, they're not. So I don't like it at all. They should be reestablishing a standard. Let's move on.
That needs momentum for sure.
So when you ask Kyle Shanahan what's up with the offense, one thing he likes to point to, he'll never say big picture stuff, but he keeps going to, well, we're getting in the red zone. We got in the red zone in this game a lot of times, but we didn't score that much. And if you look at the red zone numbers, they're not as good in the red zone this year as they were last year with the same freaking players. So, Jose, we're both quality control. What would you suggest Kyle Shanahan do in the red zone to score more touchdowns?
You know what? I'd say do the same thing and try to go back to your passing offense. Like, honestly, like going back to the red zone. And I think so obviously in the press box, but on Sunday Night Football, I think also they even showed a little bit of the RPO replays as well. The all 22 49ers community likes to point out. And it was just like, dude, are you just gonna keep running the same play RPO? And then that's when he mentions on the conference call, Kyle, where he's like, we had a play that I don't feel like we should have given it to the check down or whatever. And it's like, you know what? Maybe stop putting too much on Jimmy's plate and just have him do a drop back, 1-2 stop, drop back, and just throw it. I know he had the one throw to Ayuk, but again, this has been a problem all season long. All right, it's not just this game. So when people are harping about and overreacting, quote unquote, to the red zone offense, it's like, no, we're not overreacting to something that's been going on for 9 games. The red zone offense is just lacking. Like, can we get can we just take a shot with Jimmy? Can Jimmy just do something? Can we get a crosser? Can we get Kittle in there? Ayuk, who I feel like is the best red zone threat, should be more utilized in that sense. That shouldn't have been the first time we've seen that with him having like a shifty route and just creating space, because he could do that at will. We saw that against the Rams at home when he shook Jalen Ramsey on the whip route. So we already know Ayuk's that lock. But how about just getting just simple plays, making it simplified just so we can get some points on the board, because you're wasting all these yards. Like, no one cares about your yards. How many points are you putting on the board? Because you know what, Grant? I actually went back and looked at the points scored. If you take away the 2 highest games they had points against, so one was a bleeding out Carolina team, right? And then the second game against the Rams, do or die, and they always play well against the Rams. You take those 2 games away, they're averaging 18.5 points per game. They're averaging 18.5 points per game against, if you take away the bleeding out Carolina game and a desperation Rams game. And if you want to go further against both Rams, they're averaging 17.6. So pretty much give or take a point.
Also, you take away some of these special teams touchdowns and pick sixes, like it's even worse. Because they had the pick six from Talanoa, the pick six from Mosley.
Take that away. You're right.
They had the pick six from Talanoa, the pick six from Mosley. Like they had, I think they have at least one special teams touchdown. So it gets bad. Real quick, let me give you a little stat. All right. So we're talking red zone. Jimmy Garoppolo in the red zone this year, his quarterback rating is 100. He has 9 touchdown passes and 1 pick. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's actually doing pretty well. But in the red zone, the Niners this year have run 52 times. Excuse me. Let me get this right. Attempts 52 times, and they've passed 34 times. So again, this is Kyle Shanahan and he wants to run the ball. They need to pass the ball. When they pass the ball, good things happen this year. But he's getting into the red zone, and he's running between the tackles with Christian McCaffrey. It's like, dude, that's the worst idea. There's so many things you could do. There are 10 things you could do better than that. You could throw to Christian McCaffrey. You could throw to Kittle. You could hand off to Deebo. But no, you want to do the worst thing you could do. So it's a lot on Kyle, how he's using his players like you're running too much. And look, here's another thing. I don't think Kyle likes Jimmy getting credit. Jimmy's going to be in a contract year. I don't think he wants Jimmy Garoppolo getting 3 tutties in a game. You can run for a quarterback sneak, but I think he wants the touchdowns going to Christian McCaffrey on the ground. Meanwhile, you got Mike McDaniel being like, hey, man, you got 3 touchdowns. You're great, Tua. You're the best. You got 3 touchdowns today. I don't think Kyle wants Jimmy getting credit like that. If they score on the ground, Kyle gets the credit. If they score through the air, Jimmy gets a lot of credit, and that's where Kyle's mind is, I think. So Kyle needs to get over himself and let Jimmy get some credit.
You got a point on that, because even when he had the sweet rollout throw of the game to Raymond McLeod, he kind of like dumbed that down. I was like, dude, that was sweet. That's uncharacteristic of him.
It's like the best play of Jimmy Garoppolo's career. It's like the best play of his career. For sure. Oh my God.
That deserved more than just like, oh, he's trying to say like he's been doing that all year. No, he hasn't.
Dude, if Mike McDaniel were the coach of this team, he would have talked about that play for like 10 minutes. He would have written an entire 1-act play about that. It would have been crazy. But no, Kyle's like, it was whatever. It was all right. I could have made that throw. Do you see that throw I made in the pizza oven? Because that was a nice throw. The pizza oven throw.
Yeah, that was pretty dope. But no, that whole drive was all because of Jimmy to me. That was all Jimmy. The 3rd and 12, or what? I don't even. What's that 3rd and 12 to George? Yeah, to George. That whole drive, because every run play was like stalled, and then Jimmy was just connecting.
Kyle, so he's like, why didn't you score more points than? Well, we got inside the 10-yard line. We only scored touchdowns. We got inside the 10-yard line 5 times. We only scored 2 touchdowns. We got to execute better. Well, maybe if you every time you got to the 9-yard line, you try to run your way through a brick wall into the. It's too hard, and you don't have the offensive line to pull it off. You don't have Mike Upati and Anthony Davis like back in the day. That's what he wants to do, and so it's on him. All I remember is Jimmy Garoppolo making a play, throwing that beautiful touchdown pass to Christian McCaffrey. Like he can't. You're not allowed. He made the great throw to Ayuk that Ayuk dropped. Man, he's not going to drop 2 of those. Throw
it again. Do it again.
Do it again. Do it again. Zach says, what makes Trent the best? Don't disagree. Just want your take. I mean, he's been doing it for a long time. I don't think he's the best anymore, but he was the best for a very long time. He's about 35 years old. I don't know. I don't think he's the best anymore.
He's still top tier.
Yeah. Justin, I mean, they run the ball well to their left. I got to give him that. He's still good. He just could be a lot better. Justin Gonzalez says, spreadsheet asked T-Dub, there are no problems with Williams' stance. He's been operating the same way through his whole career, 9 Pro Bowls and counting. Okay.
Oh, ask Trent Williams.
All right. So now we have a bunch of people that aren't on Trent Williams' payroll going out of their way to defend sloppy play. That's my favorite thing about Bay Area sports media. Love that. Corey Soto says, I think Ramsey dropping 2 picks is the greatest gift to Jimmy and the Niners. Would the Niners have won if he caught those? Changes a lot. It's a good question. Also, would the Niners have won against the Chargers if Samuel Womack had been called for a touchback on that play? Not saying he should have. But on TV, they were losing their mind about that.
Yeah, they were losing their mind about that.
They were losing their mind about that on TV.
I don't remember that play, but too much. Like, I don't think I was too much in focus of that because, special teams, special teams.
Right.
Come on.
But it's when they stopped the Chargers at the 1-yard line. Like, they couldn't make a comeback at that point.
They're saying the Chargers got hosed. But it's like, you know what? So did the Niners on the Dre Greenlaw play.
Ooh. I don't know about that. I think the big missed call on that for the Niners in that game was two things. Deebo face mask. That was a clear face mask. Right?
And the false start every snap.
The false start every snap by the right tackle.
Are you blind? I was screaming that on the TV. Like, are you stupid? Like, what are you doing?
The Greenlaw one, I don't know. But the other two,
no.
I don't want to argue about the Greenlaw one. But that's borderline. That was at least you could say that was borderline. But look, I want to talk about. What?
Wait, what are you talking about? The false
Greenlaw
start?
was at least, but when they slowed it down, it looked like he I don't know.
That was a penalty. I just didn't agree with the ejection, which I didn't even know you could get ejected for that. I thought I was like, what are you doing?
It was like a targeting call, right? Yeah.
What do you? Moving target. He's not good.
Ref blew the whistle. Fair enough. All I'm saying is that play of pinning the Chargers at the 1-yard line, that ended the game. Maybe the game would have been over if they had gotten the ball at the 20 because they weren't moving the ball at all in the second half. But Herbert's really good. He made some amazing throws to nobodies in that game. Maybe he had a couple more left in him, but from the 1 yard line, there's no chance.
And I'll say this: the Niners also red zone offense. We're talking about how's like Shanahan's like, oh, we just messed up, so we kind of gifted them. You're like, you know what? The Chargers messed up and gave the defense lucky breaks in the first half. Justin missed several throws that could have gone for chunk plays or even a touchdown. What was that one he threw?
Number 88, alligator armed a pass down the field that should have been a touchdown.
Yeah, and then
Trey McKitty.
Gerald Everett at the 10-yard line or 5-yard line had a drop that could have been a walk-in touchdown. So there were several opportunities for the Chargers to convert and to change one of those field goals into a touchdown to make more pressure on the 49ers offense, which guess what? Now that you're in a tie game or you're trailing, you're more predictable passing. So Kyle, the only time he passes heavily is when he's trailing. And at that point, great. Now you're putting Jimmy in a very tough.
That's not one you want to. What you want to do is pass early and then ice it out with the run game.
That's what I'm saying.
Kyle's.
That's what you want to do, man. Throw on those first downs. Maybe when it's like when you're on like the 13-yard line, take a shot to the end zone. Do it. But I'm wondering if he's scarred from that Chiefs game because I'm pretty sure he wanted that one because when he threw that pick, which is egregious, I agree. But it's like, so you're just gonna.
It's the one pick he's thrown in the red zone all year. It's the only pick he's thrown in the red zone all year. Like, you got to stop coaching scared, Kyle. McDaniel doesn't. Because it trickles down to your players. Yeah. All right. I want to talk about a guy on defense. Eric Armstead hasn't played since week 4. Every week, someone asks Kyle Shanahan about Armstead. Is he coming back this week? And Kyle says the same thing. We hope so. He's doing better. And then on Wednesday, or the first day they practice that week, he doesn't practice. Nor does he practice any day. And that's been what's been going on since he's gone down since week 4. We hope he's coming back soon. We don't know when. Maybe this week. No practicing. They could have put him on IR. You can put a guy on IR and he has to stay there for 4 weeks. If they had put him on after the game against the Rams week 4, he could have been eligible to come off right now. Which is so, why didn't they do it? They probably hoped or thought he'd be coming back already, and he's not. And so they've been playing with 52 players. The last month. They could have had an extra player on their team. Had they known that Armstead wouldn't be back by now, they probably would have put him on IR. So what the hell is going on? What is going on here? What do you think?
Dude, plantar fasciitis, man.
And that's on the one foot. On the other foot, he's got like a stress fracture at his ankle.
The fracture is the one I'm least worried about. I think that was going to heal before that plantar fasciitis that he has because look, I think all of us, we'll never claim to be a doctor, but I think we all have a good semblance of how severe injuries are from watching sports, whether you just watch football or you watch a collective of sports. And my understanding of plantar fasciitis, it's almost on par or in the same ballpark as that Liz Frank injury. All those type of soft tissues, whatever's in your foot, it don't recover overnight or over months. Yeah. He has to. I feel like his season might be done. I stake claim to this. Like one of the last times we talked about this. It's like Armstead might, even if he comes back, he's going to be like at 75% at best, maybe. I mean, look, how many times running backs get this a lot? This injury lingers. I've seen it. Soccer players get it. I've seen it in another.
And it can get worse. It can get worse.
So are you sure he's even going to be back? Do you need, look, you need him back for sure.
But he should be on IR right now. You know what I'm saying?
They're keeping him off IR because they don't want to use the remaining bullet chances they have on activation of whoever else could be, and maybe clearly they overestimated or underestimated how severe this was, and then who knows about Kinlaw, and it's like it's really bad. You have your 2 pillars in the middle, and they're both gone. And this is really bad right now. And I just feel like it's like I have more hope in Kinlaw coming back than I do Armstead because that plantar, man, it's pretty much been haunting like athletes for years.
Yeah, and this is why I feel like this is an injury that you get when you're older. He just turned 29. You're invested in an older defensive tackle, and now it's starting to look like his lower body's breaking down a little bit. So this is discouraging. And what I want to talk about, I don't know the extent of the injury. I'm not a doctor, and I'm not privy to any of these details. But what I do know is that the Niners didn't put him on IR. That indicates they were hoping or expecting that he'd be back by now because it's been 7 weeks. So there's a disconnect here. And I feel like what's happening is they go up to Armstead every week and they're like, Armstead, do you think you could play this week? And he's like, yeah, we'll give it a shot. And then it's like, no, I don't feel good, which is his prerogative. But this is what happens when you locked in to a 29-year-old player for years. I mean, it's different than having a 23-year-old guy who's gunning for that first contract. It's just a different mentality. He's thinking, I got to get that third contract. I got to find a way to get that third contract, which is going to give me like a ton of money on my signing bonus, and that'll be my last big payday. So now I have to protect my body. And it's not in his interest, to your point, to like play at 75% and look bad and potentially make this worse and make this something that could be a career ender. Because at this point at 29, things could get bad. Things could go sideways. So this is why I feel like, you don't want to have too many high-priced vets on your team. And you look at teams like the Patriots, they've often traded people like this, and you're like, how could you get rid of such a great... Well, so Eric Armstead, it's interesting that just the fact that he isn't on IR and the Niners keep saying, yeah, we hope this week. Yeah, Well, we'll see if he ever comes back.
What is he even doing? I don't know how they can even say that, because it's like, if both your feet are damaged, you're not doing anything. You're not doing anything. What are you doing? And even if you... And whose podcast did I listen to? I forgot. I think Guy Haber mentioned this about maybe the reason why he had that fracture on one of his legs is because he was overcompensating, which is like natural. I think anyone who's injured themselves, whether it's your left, right arm, left, right leg, you compensate for the other. I know for sure. It's like I've always been that way. Whether I have extended my knee or sprained an ankle, it's like you overcompensate. So, and even with that, it's like, what are you doing? How is he rehabbing? And then he has to get in football shape. How many snaps is he going to come back into? This is bleak. I'm not holding my breath that he comes back at all. And if he does, the 49ers are just hoping like, hey, all we're hoping for is a late December push that he's like good enough to be in. We'll roll him out there on just an early down running back. I mean, a early down defensive lineman to go against the running backs, because that's all I can see left of him.
I just feel like his season has been horribly mismanaged. Let's go back through it.
Yes.
He got hurt on the first play of training camp. Hurt his knee. Hurt something. Missed all of training camp. Came back for week 1. Was healthy. He sprained something. He missed all of training camp, all of preseason. Came back week 1. Got hurt week 2. Missed week 3. But the Niners needed him out there because the season was going left early on. Brought him back for week 4, thinking it's not a big deal injury. He injures the other leg. And then they're like, oh, okay, like you have 2 injured legs, but we're not going to put you on IR because we really freaking need you back as soon as possible. And he's like, yeah, all right. I'll see what I feel week to week. But they've really mismanaged Eric Armstead's season. And I'm not blaming Armstead. I'm not blaming the Niners either. But there is just some disconnect between those two guys, those two sides.
Like
he should be on IR.
What do the 49ers go from here now? Look, that's a great point. That right now he's this question, but if Armstead's done for the year, or he's not coming back, or a small capacity, like is this pretty much what we're seeing now? What they get from the interior, because this is going to be something that if they go against a high-power running team, that's really going to hurt them. It hasn't been exposed yet. I remember Ryan on Twitter.
That's not the Chargers. That's not the Chargers.
It's not the Chargers. Push. And I've been watching the Chargers, and I had to talk to our boy Nick Cothrell. I was like, hey, if they really want to win, they're going to have to run the ball, but they can't run the ball right. He's like, hell no. They don't care.
No.
The offensive line gets 0 push.
Yeah.
So imagine who's a good running team. And Kenneth Walker, God, Kenneth Walker might run over over the Niners on Thursday Night Football.
Right. And so going back to the McCaffrey trade, he's a nice player, and he does improve the Niners' passing game, which we've said. But they had a big needed defensive tackle. They had a big needed cornerback, and they didn't address those things. And there's like basically being like, hey, Armstead, Kinlaw, Jason Verrett. That's what they're doing this year. Jason Verrett's already not panned out, not his fault. Yeah. But that was their fault for hoping and praying on such a long shot. Now you're asking, hey, Armstead, you feeling good? Not really. Okay, we'll check you next week. Kinlaw, you feeling great? Not really. All right, we'll check you next week. Like, that's where they're at. And they could have made a deal. Instead, they swapped out running backs, and you got Kyle Shanahan being like, well, we really didn't change anything. We lost Jeff Wilson Jr.
I hate that so much.
All right, last topic, and this is interesting to me. So the difference between the 2019 49ers and the 2022 49ers, a lot of the same players, but a lot has changed since then. In 2019, I feel like that team was propelled by hungry young players. Most of the best players in that team were on their first contract and were proving themselves to get paid. We could go through it real quick. Buckner, Armstead, Bosa, Deebo, Mostert, Kittle, Fred Warner, Dre Greenlaw. I mean, like the whole freaking team, the core of the team was young, hungry, out to get paid. They've all gotten paid. And now I think what you're seeing is a team that's not as hungry, a team that, beats the Rams and likes. You see him at courtside that week. Hey, we're 4-4. We're here at courtside. We're great. We're 5-4. We're at court. They just seem like a team that's consistently playing down to their opponents. A bunch of guys who are already established, making a ton of money, and the hungry players on this team are Bosa, Jawan Jennings, Elijah Mitchell, Talanoa Hufanga. Once again, the guys who are out there and need to prove themselves to get that big payday. That's what I see as the main difference between the team that went to the Super Bowl and this team that might go to the Super Bowl. What do you think?
It's a good point. That's definitely a good point because you can put more of an underdog mentality, of a drivenness, because it's not just like everyone's writing this off. It's like, all right, this is a perfect year to get the bag, and no one saw that coming. I mean, that was my first year covering the Niners. I was like, what the hell is going on? Everyone, all my family members told me this was going to be an 8-8 year, and sure enough, look, they're freaking 14-2, 13-3. So you know what? That's a solid point. Because even when I'm thinking of when you're reading off like the players who are playing just fine or not like over the top, who are already paid, the only players I can think about who's playing worth to that level is Fred Warner. Charvarius Ward.
Yes. But he's not locked in long term. He's got like a 2 or 3 year deal. That's smart. The Kittle, I mean, he's like a Niner for life. They extended him. You know what I'm saying?
You asked him too about it too. Like Charvarius is like, hey, is it because they didn't have that bag? He's like, yeah, that's why. That's hilarious. Yeah. So he knows he's got that money. So he's out there. I'm just out there balling. I'm all good.
But he could be back in the free agent market in 2 years. Like Trent Williams is a Niner for life. Armstead, Niner for life. Kittle, Niner for life. Fred Warner, Niner for life. Who else am I? McCaffrey, Niner for life.
Damn, you can even throw out Jimmy right now as a hungry player.
Yes, and he's playing well. Dude, to me, you want to have hungry players on your team. The more, the freaking better. And because here's the thing, the hungry players, they're on the pursuit of the bag. How do you get the bag? Well, you show up every day for practice and you dominate on the practice field. You're locked in the meetings. You are selling yourself to management as the ultimate pro. I play like this every freaking day. And then they pay you. And then you either keep it up because you have that standard, or you're like, great, I don't have to do that anymore. I got the bag, right? Because you're still like, hey, man, I'm the most physical player. I run over people. I'm a throwback. That's what Kittle did. That's what Deebo did. Then they get the bag, and they're like, you know what? Actually, I'm not necessarily going to do that all the time anymore because I need to get the next contract. And it's a whole different mentality. It's human nature. And the Niners seem like they're surprised every time. Like, oh, Kittle isn't, Deebo isn't. Yeah, man, what did you expect?
That's why the Kyler Murray contract's the worst of the offseason.
Yes.
Because it's like, what was the rush? This guy doesn't look like, this guy wears down. So, and now all of a sudden, look, you get a guy who looks regressed very badly. So that was the worst one to contract. The Jimmy part though, I don't know why I'm shocked, but it's like, you know what? We said that. I think that was a talking point, like reasons to be positive about Jimmy. He's like, look, contract on a deal where it's incentivized. Number one, he's on a deal where he knows he's fighting for that next contract, which is why, again, I would never think he's coming back next year. He wants to get off this team and actually prove and be like, all right, you guys told Shane Lance over me. Here I go. Sure enough, look at him. He's playing excellent to his standards, at least.
Yes.
And I think a hungry player's part goes more and just also like now it's only certain games they will get up for. But you know what? This is kind of a league-wide issue about. Look, this is why I always, especially from gambling standpoint, is this team going to get up for this opponent? If the 49ers were to play the Commanders right now, are they going to get up for them? Probably not. Getting up for the Chargers was not incentivized because they're not fully loaded. You're coming off a bye, and it's not.
Everyone says the Niners are great. Everyone says the Niners are going to win. What about this week against Colt McCoy? What if it's Colt? No one's going to pick the Chargers, the Cardinals to win that game. Are the Niners going to get up for that? Because the last time they played Colt McCoy, they got smacked. Yeah. Maybe that'll be the only reason they get up for this game.
They've been, you know what? I was going to say that's one more benefit of thinking why they will get up for it, because another primetime reason. You're trying to show up for an international in Mexico. You're trying to show out against a division opponent, but hey, for years now they've kind of been struggling against them. They've been struggling against the Cardinals. Whether it's been Kyler Murray out there or Colt McCoy, which I don't think Kyler is going to play because his hammy, and I'm pretty sure he's going to milk his hammy to go play Warzone too. So I think ultimately it's because at this point I bet you it wouldn't shock me once December comes and say the Niners are like, what are they like? They're like 8-6, 8-5, whatever it is, and it's like okay, they're in a good spot, but they're still not there from the division or playoffs, whatever. And all of a sudden, we start to see them turn it up, like the big time players. It's like, all right, now it's the point of the season that matters. The same way NBA players don't start trying until the All-Star break or after Christmas.
Right. So that's what the Niners feel like they're doing. Like they're kind of pacing themselves, but I don't think they're good enough to do that. Last year, they didn't pace themselves. Deebo went crazy he went crazy all freaking year. And when they put him at running back, he propelled him because he was on the pursuit of the bag. And I don't know. I mean, like Talanoa's doing great. Bosa's doing great. Mitchell. Like they do have guys who could give that consistent 110% effort. But it's not as many as in the past. And all the key players seem to be like Deebo. Man, maybe he'll turn it on in December or something, but he hasn't done it yet. Kittle, same. Ayuk's in the pursuit of the bag. That's another one. And he's playing very well. Every game it looks like he's about to start a fight with someone or get in a fight with someone, and I like that. He's chippy, but I don't know. I feel like this is one flaw in the Niners roster building, and I think it starts with Kyle. They gave him that extension following the loss in the Super Bowl, so he's not even hungry anymore. He's a Niner for life. Aaron Banks is a guy who's hungry. So you have all these like guys who are legacy Niners, guys who are going to be part of the family for life, and I don't think that's the right mentality to have in football. They don't have those guys in New England. They don't. I mean, Tom Brady was the one guy, and then they got rid of him too. So I think the Niners need to think about this, and the fact that they've traded all these draft picks for players who aren't hungry anymore and are established, that could come back to bite you. You need these young, hungry players to push everyone. Those are the culture setters. Those are the tone setters on your team, and that's what you had in 2019. Not now. Yeah, thank God Mitchell's back. Jeff Wilson was hungry. You traded him. He was hungry.
Yeah, and there's been a couple, Sean Gibson, and there's been a couple of already games where it's like, especially on the offensive side of the ball, it's kind of hard to nitpick certain defensive players because ultimately you don't get a whole defensive, all-out performance all season long playing elite level with having several players, sleeping. It's pretty much stemming from the offense. But look, it could just be more than just like because they're not as hungry. It's like the same thing. Well, I guess you already mentioned Kyle Shanahan. It's the same way Kyle like puts it on out there, the way he's setting. Where it's like, if you can't have yourself be urgent, your players are not going to feel that either. Whether it's like taken to heart or 100%, at least some of that is going to be like it's contagious.
And if you don't hold yourself accountable, then the guys making more than you on your locker room, the vets, won't hold themselves accountable either. And the only ones who will.
They say Jimmy's a leader. This is the first year where I actually believe it. Where it's like I like the way he's playing. If he actually gets them psyched, I'll probably give him more credit than Kyle for getting his team getting the offense up to par because. Right now, what's going right now is it's not cutting it. It's not cutting it.
There's two ends of the spectrum in this dynamic here. Hungry players, fat and satisfied players. And not literally fat and satisfied. Metaphorically. That's the only way I would describe it. Hungry, fat and satisfied. 2019, that team was freaking hungry. From Kyle to Saleh to all the best players in the team. Now, is Trent Williams hungry? No. Is Deebo Samuel? Not yet. Is Deebo Samuel hungry? Not yet. Is Armstead hungry? He's hurt. Hard to say. You know what I'm saying? Like, the only one who really seems hungry still is Fred Warner and all the young guys who haven't gotten paid yet. So if they want to develop an appetite by Thanksgiving, that would be really freaking wonderful. Especially Deebo, dude. Man, come on. You eat Mike and Ike's by the gallon. Can you get hungry, please? Hunger shouldn't be your issue.
Mike's sites are awesome, though. Mike and Ike's, I love those.
They are good. They are good. Who will sit courtside next? Start Poole or Clay? Who's going to sit courtside next? Dwelly. He's going to go there by himself and be like, what?
Actually,
it's me.
Not Kyle. It's not going to be Kyle. Kyle's embedded into the season. Who is it going to be? It's going to be Deebo and Ike again. These guys going on a rotation. Or Fred Warner. It'll be Fred Warner. I'm calling it Fred Warner. Federico. Start Poole or Clay.
It won't be Nick Bosa. He's not gonna go out and hang out in San Francisco for a night. Do you think he spends nights out in San Francisco? Like, hey, you want to go to the city, guys? What a wonderful world-class city it is.
I like going to San Francisco. You would live in Danville.
Ooh.
Probably live in Danville.
I had a girlfriend from Danville for 9 months when I was in college. She was cool, but her friends, nothing against her friends if they're watching. But it's like, whoa, Danville, whole different area. And if you're from Danville, no disrespect, but wow. Niners need another impact DT, yes or no? Too late.
It's funny how you mentioned that trade because I remember when we talked about when the trade deadline, I wrote, like, will they be active at the trade deadline? And I said the only way I can see them active is to get a defensive lineman, because every year at the deadline, they've always acquired some sort of defensive lineman. Jordan Willis, Charles Amenahu, and they've all proven fruitful in a role player way. So this year it was like, maybe nothing materialized because I don't think anyone defensive line wise got traded this year. Maybe there was one, but yeah, I thought that was kind of like odd that they didn't do that. Maybe the word's banking on like, okay, Kinlaw's down to come back, Armstead, but it's like, can you really depend on them? Because both of these players have the same injury where it's like, it's not going to get better. It's not going to get better. One guy has a knee that just keeps flaring up. The other guy has a foot that's might be worse.
Yeah. JCK510 says, Grant, you're going to get canceled for the second day in a row. Justice for Danville. I'll never forget. I went to some party. It was like, this was the summer between freshman and sophomore year of college. I was just starting to date this girl. I went to her party and her friends didn't know me. I'm from Oakland. They're from Danville. It's two different places. And she introduced me and said, I'm from Oakland. And one of her girlfriends who was white said, "Aw, she's slumming it." What? Who talks like that? Like, Jesus. Wow. Like, first of all, no, she's not. Second of all, what?
Are you sure?
She's slumming it.
Oh, she said that because she told you where you're from, or because she saw your face and she was like, "No, that's why she's slumming." I'm gonna bank on the face.
Well, in their defense, at that time, I had a chin strap, like one of those faux mohawk type of things, like everyone like.
Oh yeah, Super Show was saying.
And I had like 13 millimeter cubic zirconia, so I was a joke. I was a walking joke at that point, yeah. But still, I mean, I had a great personality. Eat a box of Mike and Ike's at the presser. Oh yeah, that's a good call. That's a good call. That's all I got for this show.
For the press box food. Stop putting snacks. I'm tired of these brownies. These stale brownies you guys put. Put some Mike and Ike's up here.
Seriously. No, they have. Do they have Mike? I don't think they have Mike and Ike's at the games, but they do have Sour Patch Kids, which I like.
Oh, I love Sour Patch Kids.
I like Sour Patch Kids.
I love them.
Deebo, step your game up. If you're gonna eat 1,000 calories of sugar at night, it's Sour Patch.
That jacket was kind of cool, but that's because I love green. I love green.
I thought the main thing was it matched his jacket. The Mike and Ike's. It was clearly a snack and an accessory. And I've never really considered having a snack be an accessory, but I think that's next level drip, and I'm going to do it from now on.
Well, it's like the same thing when you see people like, I know some people who just have like the white or the red cup with like alcohol or whatever drink, and they'll just be like, I just like holding it because it makes my outfit look better. I'm like, what? I've actually heard of people doing that. Like using their drink as an accessory, and they just like take like 3 hours just to sip on it.
It's dope. I'm going to do it now too. I'm going to have a gold drink in my hand. No,
you can't. You gotta have a different tone. You have a black undershirt. You gotta have a black cup now.
Good call. So. It's a highlight, right? It's like an accent.
Yeah. Don't stack. Yeah. At that point, you're gonna be like the Thursday night color rushes. Come on, we gotta have like some complementary colors here.
I love how Deebo was eating it like straight box to mouth. Like that's a good way of saying like, don't ask me for any Mike and Ike's, Brandon. These are my Mike and Ike's. If you wanted some, you could have brought some from home.
That is a good point.
It's like ooh. Anyway, crushing them. Thank you very much, everyone, for watching. I'll be back tonight with Jesse Naylor. See you later.